Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, Father.
Today's gospel contains one of Jesus' most popular parables, frequently called the parable of the Good Samaritan. Countries such as Australia, Belgium, Canada, China, Finland, Germany, India, Ireland, Israel, Romania, the United Kingdom, and the United States have even enacted Good Samaritan laws that encourage bystanders to help those in need without being sued for any damage that may have taken place as a result of their assistance. Therefore, this parable has literally influenced people around the world in so many ways. There are some important details in today's gospel that help us better understand how deep it is. First, a lawyer stood up to put Jesus to the test, saying, "Teacher, what shall I do to inherit eternal life?" There is a stark contrast between the attitude of the lawyer who comes to test Jesus in today's gospel and last week's gospel from Luke 8, verse 41, where we read, "A man named Jairus, who was a ruler of the synagogue, and falling at Jesus' feet, he besought him to come to his house." Jairus approaches Jesus with humility, while the lawyer approaches Jesus as if he is being interrogated as a witness to prove the guilt of his witness. But Jesus, of course, does not fall for this. Jesus immediately flips the conversation and questions the lawyer instead. St. Luke tells us Jesus said to him, "What is written in the law? How do you read?" Jesus does not accept to be interrogated and asks the lawyer to answer part of the question himself. The answer that the lawyer gives, of course, is the right one. He says, "You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your strength and with all your mind, and your neighbor as yourself." This is not just a random answer that the lawyer gives. This proves that the lawyer knew the Old Testament very well, as he quotes two very important verses. First, from Leviticus 19:18, "Take no revenge and cherish no grudge against your own people. You shall love your neighbor as yourself. I am the Lord." And second, from Deuteronomy chapter 6, verse 5, "You shall love the Lord your God with your whole heart and with your whole being and with your whole strength." Well, that should have ended the conversation, as Jesus said to him, "You have answered right. Do this, and you will live." However, perhaps he thought he was piling up lawyer dollars by spending more time in the interrogation. The lawyer doesn't stop, but goes on. But he, in a sense, is right, because there is an important ambiguity in the text of Leviticus 19 that the lawyer picks up on. He actually reads the fine print. Does neighbor refer only to the neighbor in our community, those around us on our same street, or those in neighboring neighborhoods, those who were traditionally considered as outsiders and technically not neighbors? Leviticus 19 verses 16 to 18 only refers to the neighbors in our own community, which consists of our family and friends. This is highlighted actually 6 times in only 3 verses in Leviticus 19. You shall not go about spreading slander among your people, nor shall you stand by idly when your neighbor's life is at stake. I am the Lord. You shall not hate any of your kindred, that is your relatives, in your heart. Reprove your neighbor openly, so that you do not incur sin because of that person. Take no revenge and cherish no grudge against your own people. You shall love your neighbor as yourself. I am the Lord. Therefore, neighbor here actually refers to those in the neighborhood only. Although most people focus on the second part of today's gospel, the first part, which introduces the parable, is actually crucial to understanding the full depths of this gospel and what Jesus is doing by expanding the definition of who is your neighbor. That is why St. Luke tells us, but the lawyer desiring to justify himself said to Jesus, and who is my neighbor? Then Jesus replied with the parable. A man was going down from Jerusalem to Jericho and fell among robbers who stripped him and beat him and departed, leaving him half dead. 3 people then passed by that man. The first is a priest, and the second is a Levite. Very important figures in this gospel, and very important figures in the Jewish community, because both were Jewish leaders, and both had just come back from Jerusalem, that is the place of the temple. In other words, both had come back from worship. Both had come back from praying. Both had come back from offering some sort of sacrifice individually and with a community. The two knew very well the passages in Leviticus. However, in this case, in a sense, they did not follow it. The third man to pass by was a Samaritan who the Jews considered to be outsider. In fact, Jews and Samaritans did not mix. They did not pray with each other, and they did not live in the same neighborhood. They did not live on the same street or in the same area. Therefore, although Samaritans and Jews lived in neighboring villages, they technically, according to Leviticus, they technically were not neighbors in our sense of the word. Those in neighboring villages were considered actually to be strangers rather than neighbors, and they were strangers to be avoided and not to be taken care of. Therefore, the heart of this parable is that Jesus teaches the lawyer and us that everyone who is in need is our neighbor, not just our family, not just our friends, and not just those in our immediate community or circle of concern. The lawyer had the law, but what did the Samaritan have? St. Luke tells us he first had compassion, and then he had mercy. The parable shows us that the new law of Jesus is not just based on texts, but is based on this new element that is compassion and mercy. Many countries in the world may have Good Samaritan laws that protect those who are trying to help, but we have a Good Samaritan faith that encourages us to see beyond our needs and the needs of our family and friends, to allow compassion and mercy to be the defining qualities of how we see others. The lawyer could not outsmart Jesus, and neither can we. Jesus does not try to outsmart us when he gives us a parable or a teaching, but rather Jesus extends to us a simple challenge to look at the compassion and mercy of the Samaritan, and to go and to do likewise.